What if your voice was a portal to full body transformation? A bridge that connects your body to your spirit, your intuition to your outer expression, and your healing to your path to embodiment. In this episode, I'm joined by Maryn Azoff for a deeply expansive conversation on sound, resonance, the chakras, nervous system healing, and the profound power of reclaiming your authentic voice. Welcome to Weaving Resonance, where intuition, energy, and embodiment meet real life. I'm Anna Gannon, international intuitive psychic and intuitive development coach. After conducting thousands of readings for people all over the world and training hundreds of people in developing their intuition, I'm here to help you awaken your unique intuitive gifts, trust them fully, and embody their wisdom, so the way you live and lead strengthens the greater web we're all weaving together. By the end of this episode, you'll hear Maryn's extraordinary story of leaving the music industry, rediscovering her voice through spiritual practice and ceremony, and how things like sound, breath, and vibration shape not only our healing, but the reality we create. We also dive into the energetic imprint of our names, pineal gland activation, the power of chanting, and why humanity is being called to reclaim authentic expression in a world filled with noise. Let's dive in. All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome back to Weaving Resonance. So I've been taking Maryn's course, vocal transformation, since September 2025. And for those of you that are listening, you know that I lead trainings and different stuff like chakra work and intuition. And Maryn has this amazing mentorship that goes through the chakras, kind of dealing with each one for 40 days, chanting the seed sound of each chakra. And I've been doing that in September. Right now it is May. And I think I said this to you, Maryn, that I feel like there should be a disclaimer for your training because of just the transformation that has ensued since I started. So welcome, Maryn. If you'd like to kind of jump in and just share just a little snippet of who you are and what you do before we get deeper. And then I did ask Maryn to also open the container. So whatever feels good to start with. I'll let you do that.
I'll start with the introduction, this week the talking, and then we'll get everyone in their bodies. So the work that I do is vocal transformation, as you said. I have been on a mission for almost 2 decades of helping people find the power of their voice, the true way that it was designed to be used. And so this voice can be used to manifest all aspects of yourself, all areas of your life, and it's our oldest living instinct. And so for so many of us, it has become distorted or manipulated or edited. And I help people reclaim the full physical, mental, emotional, spiritual aspect of what this is and help them to really step into the creative seat of their own life.
Yes. And yes, she does.
So with that,
experience.
I invite you to find your body, which is the instrument that this voice comes from, right? So it's so important that we find our bodies. I was just on a call a little while ago, and we were talking about the sovereignty of a human when in the body. And when we're in these minds and these running arounds in these spaces outside of the vessel, we can easily be manipulated, dissuaded, or guided in ways that don't feel fully in alignment. But once we actually get in our body, and that's going to take a breath, so if everybody will take a deep breath with their diaphragm down into the body, we draw our spirit, our soul, into the form. And as these two intelligences, soul and body, come together, one more deep breath with the diaphragm, we become the sovereign. We are not influenceable, but we can choose what we allow to connect or be a part of this reality. So breathing in again. Find your home center at the very center of your gut. So feel that breath activating your umbilicus, your belly button. And as you do that, feel the connection at the heart that makes. With each breath, we're pulling our spirit deeper into the vessel. And with this opening comes the activation of all of the muscles, resonators, and aspects of our voice. So let's take a few more breaths right there into the belly button, maybe even deeper into the lower body, and feeling the earth underneath that we sit on, that we walk on, that we embody in this flesh, and how that connects us to our heart center, and then our head comes on to meet it. So 3 more breaths here into the belly, chest, head, belly, chest, head. And one last time there. Now all 3 of our brains and all aspects of our being are here on this call together. And just to introduce your soul and spirit into the body, we're going to add a hum as our final act. So we'll take a deep breath into the belly, feel the heart that joins it, and then simply add a simple Should we do it one more time? Let's do it one more time. Breathing into the belly. Feel the pressure and then the chest. And hum in. Keep that breath moving down throughout the call today, and you'll feel that intuition of yours able to pick up every bit of what it is we're going to be discussing.
Thank you so much, Maryn. I feel, I love doing this with people that come on the podcast too, because it drops me out of my head as well, right? As being the person that's interviewing and just like right into the body. So thank you so much. What a beautiful, beautiful. And I love that you brought in the hum too, because we just went through the throat chakra and just went into the third eye, right? Last Saturday. And the throat chakra was that hum. And it's interesting because it reminded me of a story that I'd love to share with you before getting into kind of your history, which is a few years ago, I was driving home with my husband and my kids, and it was late at night. It was really dark. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this thing kind of like jumping up on the side of the road as we were driving. And here, once I could kind of see, I saw it was a deer that had been hit by a car, but it was trying to get up, right? It was bucking up. And I told my husband, I was like, pull over immediately, drop me off, take the kids home, come back. And I got out of the car. It's really cold. And I find this really big deer with these huge antlers on the side of the road. And it's clearly, going to pass away, but it's still trot up. And I sat there having no awareness of what to do in that moment. But for whatever reason, my intuition just guided me to just sit down next to a deer and hum. And that's all I did. I just sat there and I just kept humming because I knew I didn't want the deer to be alone. Like I knew it was going to pass away, but I wanted it to know that like its life had meaning and that it was going with like reverence. And it was so beautiful because I had no idea what humming meant. I've still to this day really don't understand why that was the sound that came through. Right? But what I do know is eventually that deer stopped bucking and I could just see its breath, cold air blowing out. was almost the beautiful passing that I was just able to sit there and continue to make that sound. So when we moved into the throat chakra together, over 40 days ago, I remember that story coming up, and then it just came up for me again. And it's just so interesting that it's the sound of the throat and it's the sound of listening. And that's what really came forward in that moment. So I just wanted to share that with you because it was so
Oh, you made
beautiful.
me cry. That instinct,
Right?
that intuition of yours, because the throat is the portal of spirit. So it's how, when the throat is open, it's how the highest self enters into the form, right? You'll see the crown, and then you have the third eye, or what we would call, this is where the mind kind of gets in the way of our pineal and our true intuitive senses. We have like the knowledge base and the ego. So it has to come through that, through the throat and into the body, the highest self, the true essence of soul, spirit. So the throat is the portal that when it opens allows that high self to breathe into the body, and then allows that to express up and out through the ether. So your humming was like the bridge between life and death. It was the bridge between the embodiment into the spirit. And in Buddhism, Om Mani Padme Hum is a very typical chant when someone's passing. Because Om Mani Padme is like above and below. Hum is the throat that opens to connect the two worlds and to awaken the heart. So when people chant hum, right, with the bija mantra hum, you're opening up the portal of spirit and body, and those intelligences able to express itself. So it's almost like you gave him, first of all, nervous system wise, you were relaxing your nervous system, which was relaxing his nervous system. Right? You were bringing your vagus nerve into parasympathetic, and he was able to do the same, because once we're humming together, that is going to happen. It's releasing cortisol and adrenaline and bringing in oxytocin and serotonin. So oxytocin is the connection bliss molecule. And that's what you just said. You just said, I just wanted him to know that he's not alone and that his life is being witnessed and that he has value. And that's what that hum did. It like produced oxytocin in your body that he would have picked up and been able to like have his mama guiding him home. I'm like moved to tears here by you.
I know I'm crying.
It's so beautiful because that instinct and that intuition it's so simple. Hum. Hum. I don't need to explain anything to a deer. I can't even explain anything to a deer like you might want to with a human. But just a sound like that is enough to make it goes beyond all the words. Right? It's so precious.
Yes, it does go beyond all the words. That's really how it felt. Wow. Um, and thank you for sharing that with me because that just really kind of stitched up that story in such a beautiful way in my body. So I've kind of heard snippets about your childhood and about, your story of how you got into this. And I would really love to, this is called weaving resonance, right? So kind of how we get from one thing to the next. And I would love to kind of go back to little Maryn,
Mhm.
and who was she and how does that thread connect all the way to right now? So no pressure.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could do this in whatever amount of time we have because I've lived about 10 different lifetimes in this one life so far. Still going to. So the little Maryn uh, was the youngest of five children in a household where the loudest voice is the one that's heard. So there was always this competition inside of our house of like being heard. So there was definitely voice. But there was something going on in my household as a young child that it was a secret. Something had happened to me, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about it. But it was something that I had to keep a secret in the family. And at this moment where this started to happen, where I was experiencing this thing for myself, this opportunity came. It was right before kindergarten. It was early. No, it was kindergarten. It was the very beginning. There was a pageant where we had to talk about an American president. There was like a little thing we each had to say about an American president. It was a cute little pageant. And this boy that was supposed to sing God Bless America, his parents came into school the day before the pageant and said, he can't sing the word God. We're Jehovah's Witnesses. We didn't know he volunteered for this, but he's not allowed to sing the word God. And I saw my teachers were all kind of upset that they didn't know who was going to sing it because we had practiced and he wasn't going to do it. And in that, seeing that they were upset, I said, I can do it. And they said, can you? And then I sang it and they said, oh my God, you can. Like, I had a natural voice. So the story goes that the next day my parents came in. I didn't tell them. And I sang and everyone was handing them tissues. And from that moment forward, I was a singer, right? It was just like, she has a voice. It's a natural gift. And they started training me. They started training me very young. And in that process, that what I didn't know then that I was going to come to understand as my journey continued was that was my soul needing to express something that it couldn't express in its normal way and be heard. So I needed to move the emotions. I needed to move the energy. My spirit needed release, and singing became the obvious thing. And I find it humorous that it's God Bless America, that I sang because my journey of my voice was from performative voice to spiritual voice. And even though that first song is a patriotic song, whatever, just the mere thing that the first song I sang in public mentioned God was saying immediately that in hindsight, that it wasn't about getting on a stage and performing in front of people. It was about connecting to something way bigger. And so I'll come to know that throughout a whole lot of things that happen in my life, but very clear looking back that was what Maryn needed. She needed release, and my voice became my pacifier, I would say, for a long time. It was easy for me to take roles. I became a performer. I became the voice. I was known for it. So I got attention, and I got to like have this persona, and I started acting and singing and all of these things, and then started dreaming of stardom, which is, I think, what naturally occurs, but also what I was told. You know, they found a talent and they said, you're talented, you're going to make your way with this. And that's kind of what my work is here to reconcile, because performative singing is not why we sing. Performative speaking is not why we speak. Performative vocalization, it's not, I mean, there's an aspect of performance to it because we're doing something, which means you're performing a task, right? But the idea of it being for validation or to play a role of some sort that is not authentic actually incorporates the ego with this thing that is really meant to be our life-giving power in ways that can really, really affect our lives in all aspects. So anyway, from there, I trained and I performed and I thought that's what I wanted. But because of this early childhood abuse that was going on in my home, there was this like undercurrent of insecurity through the whole thing. That of course then I couldn't have said, but now I realize there was a secret. There were things that my unconscious mind were hiding, and ways that I was learning to cope with and navigate that were creating these like thought processes and undercurrents of insecurity, of unworthiness, or of whatever, parts of me that hid, we'll just say. So I had plenty of success. I got signed to a record label when I was 19. My whole world became like, it became, about being a performer, and it was this whole thing, but still there was this like underpinning of dissatisfaction or just like insecurity and a sabotager that actually existed inside of me as well. Like doors would get there and I would mess things up, and things that would happen, so that there was this dream that I thought was mine, but there was this other part of me that also didn't want it. And it's really because there was this part of me that was hiding, which I wouldn't have known until way later. So I'm going to fast forward. This is like a very interesting way I'm telling the story, but I'm going to fast forward to, I left the music industry when I was 19 years old because something was going on inside of this, in the industry that was, it was like a moment where I felt like I would have to sell my soul to continue this path. And even though it's everyone's dream to be a star, and it was my dream to be a star, I thought, and we were close, man, like it was happening. there was something that came up that was just like, if I continue this, I'm giving away all of my creativity. You know, I was in an R&B hip hop like girl group that was put together. And so the creativity of it was really, we weren't writing the songs. We were just kind of like the figureheads making money for the people who wanted to make the money. And we were getting this idea of like, we're going to make it with all, but we weren't, we were just the pawns, right? And I think I could feel that inside of it, that it was like, I don't want to be a star more than I want to be creative on some level. So I decided that I was going to not be a singer anymore, because I felt like once I tasted the industry was so gross. It really had so many aspects of it that were so soul-sucking that Maryn at that moment decided that, like, this is, I can't go down this path because it would be really harmful to my soul, right? I know that now, but back then I was just like, I'm out. I started making choices for myself, drinking, drugs, all these things to kind of like escape my misery. But then I realized very quickly that that is not going to serve my life. So I just decided I'm not singing anymore. And I stopped singing for 8 years. For 8 years.
8 years.
I did not sing. And even when people would ask me to sing, they would say, like, sing. And I'd be like, I don't sing. And I just put it away and found another life. I moved to the other side of the world, to Australia, and I opened an organic cafe, and I found a spiritual path. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. What I found in Australia was Agnihotra. I don't know if you know what this is, but I was invited to an ashram that I went to where they do these Vedic fire rituals. And what they do is, what I do, what it is they burn cow dung, ghee, and brown rice in a copper pyramid while chanting mantra over it for purification. It's actually a farmer's fire. It's an Ayurvedic fire that is designed to get rid of any physical, mental, and emotional dissonance, pollutants, disturbances. So with the ash of this fire on ground, it can get rid of, like all the different bugs that will come and eat your crop. It will fertilize the soil, and it will actually create abundance in the soil. For an emotional and physical and mental, it helps to get rid of all distortions in the field, impurities. And then my body, I also noticed, like, my bowels were moving, my sweat wasn't smelling, my body was clearing. So through the process of doing all this chanting, the first thing I noticed was that we were in a place that was a droughted place for 35 years. Cessnock, Australia was in drought. And all of the land was cracked and dry, and the farmland of the valley, nobody could grow. But our ashram, plentiful. And we had food to give others, and it was green, and there were fruit trees and beetroot the size of like my head. It's just like craziness, right? And it was all coming from these fires that were chanting and the practice of Agnihotra, which I still do to this day because it's just a remarkable thing. But what I noticed in that moment was that fire, which is like me from Rockland County, New York, having no idea like anything about what this was. The first time I sat in front of that fire, the smell, the textures, the mantras, it was like I had done this forever. It didn't feel foreign. It felt like home. And it's called Homa therapy, which is pretty incredible, but it felt like home. And it was weird. It was kind of like, what? And it was just very natural, right? So I did this for a while there, and then I left the ashram because I couldn't. Ashram living was not for me. And then I found my way back to the States. I know it's a very long story. It'll take the entire interview. I ended up having an accident after leaving the ashram where I was whitewater rafting in Fiji, and I broke my arm. And in the process of that break, they messed up my surgery, and I had to come back to the United States. So I got forced out of Australia. And New York was where the surgeon who knew how to fix what they had done was, which is where I'm from. So it was like, universe said, Maryn, you're going home. And it was when I got home that I went through a process of a year of 3 surgeries of fixing this arm. And then meeting a woman who I swore I knew, and she swore she knew me. And we tried for over an hour to figure out how we knew each other, to really come to find out that she had just returned from Peru, where she was with this shaman. And she really felt that I should work with this medicine that she was working with, and said, would you like to come to a ceremony? So my immediate body was yes. And I went to the ceremony, and inside of the first few ceremonies, because the first ceremony that I went to was also remembering. It was like, oh, I've done this too. And in the second ceremony, which was with a different shaman, who I now call my great teacher, Jose Campos, he brought my voice back. Yeah, in ceremony, he saw this need. He did not know who I was at all, and he saw this need for me to sing, and he came over and asked me to sing. And that was all happening while I was having a vision, which he of course saw because he could see through the veil, but nobody else could see, and it was in my own little world. A vision of, I would call the energy God, creator, talking to me about how the voice is my gift and how it's meant to be shared. So right at that same time, he enters and says, Mari, cantar. And I had no idea what he was saying because I didn't speak Spanish. And he goes, Mari, cantar. And then I was like, what? And I'm totally abbreviating all this now, but I ended up singing for the first time, and after that agreeing that I would continue to sing. So I found out through that moment, through even an explanation. So it wasn't just me singing, it was me coming to understand that our voice is our primary tool for healing. That our voice has been from the beginning, that when we first cried, we expressed our soul through the body and we woke up the entire intelligence. And that there is a set way that this body is designed to create sound. And that when we reclaim that, and get this voice moving through the body in that way, it aligns all of our whole system back to its factory setting, and it gives us the opportunity of full creation, of full manifestation, how we would like to direct it. But the world has conditioned us, and our work here on this earth is to move past that conditioning and reclaim our sovereignty so that we can actually really get what this life is here to offer us. And that's different for all of us. You know, we're not carbon copies of each other. We're not cookie cutter beings. We're all the same. We're all humans. We're made of the same elements, and we're made of tissues and bones and breath and blood and all of that. And that's why the human voice is the most healing tool for a human being. Even from me to you, if I'm playing a guitar, I'm playing through wood and nylon or metal. I'm playing through acoustic chambers that are not resonant of the body, but its own body. And so if I'm an amazing guitar player, I know that neck inside and out. But I still have to move my emotions and my translation of a song and my feelings into this object, and then get you to feel through those resonances with what I'm giving, right? But a voice, there's no hiding. A voice is direct. It's even if my words say one thing, your body feels exactly where I'm coming from, because it's coming from the same resonators you have, the same tissues, the same breath, the same all of that. So my instrument directly transmits into yours, and yours directly transmits into mine. And there's no need for any kind of translation. Only the words require translation because we have to agree on meaning. But when it comes to sound, no translation necessary. We were able to communicate as humans before we even had words. So the voice was given back to me then in its real shape. And then as I continued to work with the medicine, she quickly made me a teacher of this, in that she said that it's important that humans actually get back here. Because when we get this full capacity back, we actually have the power to change the world. And we do look at the world and say, like, you know, do I need to save the world or change the world? Like, you can go down a spiritual path of saying, you know, whatever. But when I mean change the world, I mean your lived reality, which is going to ripple out onto everything that you touch. And so we've become a human race that listens and follows what's already there. But we're meant to be a human race that sees and feels what's already there, but then contributes authentically to what we feel might be a nice contribution to this thing, right? And we've lost that power. We've lost the power of our voice to create. And instead, we use our voice to manipulate and control. So I learned this through medicine, and then I've been doing this for 18 years now. Since I started working, I've been helping people reclaim these aspects of ourselves.
It's so interesting because I work with you. Like, it's just so clear that it's not just coming from this space of, ceremony or medicine. Like, I feel like you bring in science and you bring in like expertise as a singer that I've just never seen anyone be able to in the way that you do. It's like full potential in that way. And one thing that was coming up for me with this when you were speaking that was clicking is that when I teach people intuition energy, one of the things that I speak about a lot is like we all have a signature energy, right? Like that can't be created or destroyed. And that energy is connected to our name. The vibration of our name is what really calls that energy in, right? And when you were just speaking about, our voice and it coming out, what was clicking for me is that what you teach isn't necessarily like the words that are coming out. It's more kind of aligning the true energy of who we are with the alignment of like our own energy coming through. So it's not necessarily of like being really conscious of the words that you're using, even though we should, but it's like you really bring signature energy online and allow someone to have the courage, the bravery, the design to be able to send it forward. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
And so much.
literally it's snowflake. I tell people like
Yes.
we are snowflakes in that even if you think your voice sounds like someone else, if you actually put it to a meter, it is not. There are subtle differences to every voice. And the reason why so many of our voices sound the same too is because we're imitating. From a very young age, we're imitating. So what the tonality of our mother's voice or our father's voice or our brothers or sisters or teachers or whatever, we learn through imitation. That's the conditioning. And then our job is to bring back the unique imprint. Like you have your own blueprint, you have your own snowflake voice that you don't want to sound like anybody else's, because universally, if you pray for something, you want it to come to you. If you sound exactly like, I don't know, if I sounded exactly like you, I might send this signal out as a vibration and you're going to receive the thing I prayed for, because they don't recognize the imprint. Everything is sound. So we don't really want to sound like something else. We want to be unique so that we actually have what comes directly to and from us that's imprinting this world. And I laugh because humans all want to sound the same. But back to what you were saying, the name, I get really deep into the names and even into language and how the words, what vowels and what consonants are actually forming these things, because we're creating formulas or spells, like we're creating that in the world, and our name is our first imprint. So when we are given that name, take a lot of my students through this. Some people, their parents just name them for nothing. Like they're not very aware and they're just like, oh, my favorite actress or my this or my that. And maybe even in that there is an awareness because that actress has a name that you're drawn. Maybe there is even there. So I'm not saying this out of judgment. But when a mother or father or parents come together and lock in on a child's name, in my experience of doing this work, I can really see how that word, that sound moves through the body and how it comes to truly represent the way that person energetically represents. Or if they are not connected to their name, I can take them into, let's actually dissect your name. And then they'll see, oh, that makes more sense. I didn't realize that that's where the sound actually goes, because they're not using their body and their voice in the way that those vowels or those consonants actually will send it through. So when they say their name, when people say their name, it's like if I walk in and go, hi, I'm Maryn. I'm Maryn, nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Maryn. Like, but my name is Maryn. You know, like it's like, vroom, there's an actual sound there. And there's a reason why it moves through certain chakras and certain energy points. And it actually talks about, you know, what I am and who I am. So I love that you said that, because we introduce ourselves to the world through that sound, frequency, vibration. And your name is your imprint. So we should really feel what our names are, you know, and then give them out. It's so good. Mm-hmm.
Totally. And just to let you know, I was kind of planting a seed there because in the last session that we had, you were going through the different kind of tones of the tongue. And as I'm listening, we're doing all this practice. In the background of my awareness, I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm paying attention to like the sounds of my name, like Anna, Gan, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a whole thing here. And then in my body, I was like, I'm gonna tell Maryn she needs to have a workshop where like she like dissects each kind of vowel and letter so that people can create their own blueprint. Because something that I've really noticed about you and how your intuition works, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you see sound but like you see it and then you feel it in where it is in the body. Like that's kind of how your intuitive gifts work. And I would also say you're quite a knower as well, but I see you doing that and it's such like a unique skill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like if everyone could kind of tap in name, I feel like this like power would come online. So
We
I was
do this
sharing
in
that
our
one to plant that
in-person
seed.
workshops.
Oh, you
I already
do?
do this, and we take it a step further. So everybody actually finds their imprint, and then the whole group chants it to them, and they chant it back until it actually finds the form from the inside to the outside and the outside to the inside. So the group surrounds the person and gives their name, bathes their name back to them, and they bathe their name out and back, so it like sets into the tissues. It's so good. It's literally, people are weeping as they claim their name back, because once we get into that seat, you can have, the reason why people don't like their names is because they don't like the person it's associated with or the person who named them. They have all these reasons why not to like their name. But before we decide to reject the name, it's really important to feel the name. And I have found people that do not at all resonate with their name. And as I said, some parents aren't naming consciously. So it is possible that some people need to rename themselves based on what they want their imprint to be. Beautiful. Like we're free. But before we do that, we have to see whether or not we're rejecting the name because we think it represents some part of our ego or some part of our family or something that we reject, and instead get to where the actual energy is. When a person comes back in their body with their name, I can tell you that person's going to be successful in life.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. That's the first thing I teach people with intuition is calling their energy in with their name, because
You
it's
and I
the
need to
only
do a
way then you
workshop.
can hear. I know. It's just so interesting. So interesting. And going back to, what you were teaching in the last session with the tongue, because, before we jumped on, I was kind of like, what's really at the top of your awareness right now? What are you excited to talk about? And you were sharing, right, about like the placement of the tongue and where it is with the sound. And I really want you to speak to that, because this past Saturday we had that training. I didn't get to obviously share this with you, but my pineal gland froze. Like, I don't know when it was or at what point, but like my pineal gland got so cold, like crystal cold. And then my whole head got cold. And in the middle of the session, like at one point, I just got to my iPhone and I was like, is it possible that your pineal gland becomes cold? Because I know from an energetic perspective that when something's getting cold, as much of us is water, right? So when we get cold, something is crystallizing in our field. It's like water. It's starting to become more frozen. It's creating a different design, right? So it's like my pineal gland, which also has crystals around it, but it was getting cold. It was a different crystalline thing that was occurring. And then I Googled it, and not only did I have it in my awareness, but it's also that's something that happens when you do really deep practices. So I would love if you could share about what this is, because I felt it on such a visceral level. Like I felt my pineal gland, the crystals in it starting to retake form, literally redesigning. Right there.
I am like so organized. I am so happy to hear this. So I think that a real reason why that happened is because you've been through the rest of the work. And I mentioned this in the class how important it is. So we take people through this full 9-month chanting because to get to this pineal activation, so many people want to get there like right away. And we're in our mind all the time. So to try to get to pineal gland while you're dealing with the cross-chattering thoughts and the ego layers and all of the stuff that's going on in that I say that's the third eye, is when the third eye is connected to the third chakra, which is the seat of your ego, and how your little eye actually wants to function, the mind. But the first eye, which is actually what that pineal is when we can move beyond all of that identity stuff. And in order for us to get there, we have to do the Shakti work. Right, so what I told you I was passionate about right now is really a throat chakra thing, where we look at the two aspects that create life. According to yogic philosophy, we're looking at Shiva and Shakti, the masculine and the feminine, and they are weaving in balance up through the spine, crossing over at the Sushumna when we attain our enlightenment. So that pineal gland awakening will come from the balance of masculine and feminine energy. It doesn't get there one-sided. It gets there when both aspects of life are in balance with each other. The entirety of life is about balance. The ecosystem balances itself constantly. Right? The reason why we have any dis-ease inside of life in reality is because we are out of balance one way or another. And it comes back to ease once we're back to balance. And so life has this rule of functioning, which is the balance of the feminine and the masculine principle. And your voice has the exact same rule. This is what I'm so passionate about teaching right now. I've been teaching this for so long, but this has become like the thing. The vowel is the Shakti. The vowel is the feminine. The vowel is the resonant frequency that moves energy from the earth up through the vessel and gives us physical materializing energy. The masculine is the consonant, the word, the thought, the idea, the knowledge. And the consonant is the structure around the vowel. So every word we speak has a shape based on what consonants are wrapping around vowels. And the masculine, which comes from the upper chakras, the mind, the thought, all of that, is determining what that tongue is going to say using the vowel that's sustained in the body to then form a formula out into the world. And this is how we create. So for us to understand that means we have to have the body underneath us and all of the Shakti, all of the vowel has to be moving. So the first thing we did in the class was go through the vowel structures and get the Shakti moving. Then we went through the tongue placements to get the Shiva activated. And after doing that, going into the Om practice, gave all of the body energy up to the pineal. And the reason why it froze, or why you had that, was because of the tongue placement, right? So after we've done all that work with the tongue and all that work with the vowel, we now have the ability to move energy from the root up through the body, through all the resonators of the voice, bringing it up past the throat, getting the tongue into that spot, and now we have real connection. But you see, if we don't do this other work before that, we're not grounded in our body. We can actually go crazy. And this is the part that I take my job very seriously. And why it's a truth that 99% of people who are on a spiritual path and get to that door of enlightenment go crazy before they get the door open. 99% of people who are on this epic journey of spiritual awakening are going to lose the plot. And it's because they're coming at it from a head first place. And when you have a cajillion thought processes happening at the same time while you're still pumping a pineal gland and while all this is going on, your mind is going to fry. And I also think that in our everyday life, our minds are frying. We're too overstimulated and too over inundated from a headspace. So once we get the voice work moving and we get the body activating all of the Shakti, we're grounded, we're supported, we're rooted in physical elemental information, not just electricity and space, which is what the mind is, the thought process, right? But we're rooted in all of this energy, and it moves up through the form, fortifying our being, fortifying us, and creating a container that can hold a lot of energy. Now it's safe to activate your pineal gland and allow that whole spectrum of vision to take us into these unseen realms, because now we have a container that can move it, that can work with it, that can embody it, that can move it into reality. And that is what humanity is built for. That's who we're supposed to be. So thank you for having a freezing pineal gland, because you're doing it. That's activating and crystallizing what the first eye rules the show. I2 and I3 get to witness it and experience it and see that we've created it. But I1 and I2 are now what we think is reality. We look out there and we see the world as it is, and I can't tell you how many times I hear, that's just the way it is. And oh my God, does that statement drive me batty? Because you're witnessing it through those two eyes doesn't mean there is not another way that can go. And who knows that? The pineal. The first eye. Yep. And its job is to give us the full spectrum of vision and then activate the body to create that vision that we get to then see with I2 and I3 and taste and touch and love and smell and all the things. We get to live in the physical reality that we've created. But when we're imitating and mimicking life that we already think exists and we become that, we really are minimizing our potential. And I think I'm looking for humans who
so
want
funny
potential. Go ahead.
Yes, you are. And you're calling them in for sure. I always look at the third eye and the pineal gland as access to the coloring box. Because I feel like once you kind of do all that work and then you get the coloring box, you really have the tools to be able to create however you want to create. And it tends to be also, right, the intuitive ability of clairvoyance, which, similar to what you were saying, I commonly say, it's the one everyone wants, right? It's the cool one. So everyone's let me just be able to see, intuitively. I want to be able to see energy. But to see energy without any work down here, you think you're going nuts. And that's why, my story is that I was blasted open in India with no context of what any of this was, and all my abilities went online like that. And I spent the next 2 years trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy, and I literally had to build a whole new system to be able to do that. So I really agree. It's and that's why also I signed up for your training. That's one of the reasons, because I could really see that the way that you were doing it had such integrity. And it wasn't this thing of just this, to chant a sound every day for 40 days and keep doing that for 9 months, it's a commitment. Oh, yeah. But if you do it, that is building that safety. And, so you're not just kind of activating people and being good luck. You're really making sure that they're okay. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I feel like voice work is like in the collective right now, right? I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I need to activate my voice, or they sense that there's some reason why this is important. So who do you think, like what could be happening in people's lives, and maybe some stories from your own students that they could really fit from this kind of work with you?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, and when in marketing sort of things, my response is always everyone, and marketers don't want to hear that. They're like, "No, we need to know where the pain point is, and we need to know like who can you help?" And obviously, I'm not great at marketing. So, but the truth is that if you have a voice, this work will change your life. If you haven't already done this, and if you don't already understand this faculty, if you have a voice, it will change your life because it is every aspect of what we are. So the body, the voice is the only instrument that incorporates the blood, the breath, the bones, the tissues, every aspect of the brain. When we sing, the entire brain lights up. The whole nervous system, it's the whole body gets activated through our voice when it's connected in its full circuitry. And if it's not in its full circuitry, we're activating aspects of this body more than others, which is creating imbalance. So I can honestly say that this work will help anyone that feels stuck anywhere in their life. Physical health, mental, emotional, relational, career, abundance, like wherever we put our attention and then move our voice towards it, we will create it. But that being said, I think that what we're experiencing, like how you say that right now the fifth chakra is coming online, and it's something that I've known about for a while. See, I've been doing this for a longer time than a lot of these teachers because I'm noticing just how many more teachers are popping up around it, and I love it. It's like this incredible time where humanity is going to have to make a choice. You see, the fifth chakra is our area of choice and follow through. It's where our free will resides. And that shows up in how we choose to express ourselves or how we don't. And our voice has been the most controlled aspect of us. Even me, who has the best of intentions, can say one thing that's a little off color and I am attacked to the hilt. Right? That like, this is inaccurate, you can't say this, why do you do this? It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Can we just like back up and stop trying to cancel each other for a moment and really try to see what is coming up out right now? What is trying to be expressed through people, right? So many years ago, when I was started working with this medicine, so maybe at the first 2 years, so like 15, 16 years ago now, she showed me something really important. She showed me me with a group of humans with our hands in the water, chanting a sound and shifting the vibration of the water and cleaning the water. Then she showed me hands on soil and crops are growing. Then she showed me ozone layers like fortifying, like the sky's clearing. And I was basically able to see that within our own frequency, we are tuning forks for reality. And that Earth in this body, this is Earth, will shift as we shift. And that humans have this power. Right? So not societally, not whatever our ideas of success are, not like, I got to go make the millions and do the thing. We have a direct conversation with this planet that serves her on a very huge level, right? Mm-hmm. So then she showed me this. She showed me that as humans are developing, we're developing through our chakra system. So if we first go back to the beginning of humanity and Neanderthals and cave people and like original humans, we're in root chakra. We're focused strictly on survival. We need to hunt, gather, we need shelter, we need to procreate, and we need to last through the winters. We need to just keep humans alive on the planet Earth. One with the animals, one with the nature. And so we don't have language then, right? We just have sounds that move through the body. Once we established how to make it through, We now move into second chakra. So now that we can survive, we have the renaissance of creativity. We have different spices in our foods. We have different music and instruments start to become created. And we start to build things that aren't just lean-tos and teepees, but we start to build buildings with floors. And then we have plumbing instead of holes. And we start to get creative. Second chakra. Second chakra moves us into this creativity, sensuousness, pleasure, joy, which then becomes gluttony. We eat and vomit and eat and vomit. We have sex in groups and we just indulge in all the sensory things until we get a plague. And the plague stops us in our tracks. And God, puritanical God, comes in and says, look at how all of this indulgence has created dis-ease. We must separate man, woman, child. That is it. We do not do anything for pleasure. We do it for purpose. It is me, it is I, and God. So then we move into third chakra, where we're looking at our sense of ego and self, and we're looking at our own personal power and control and all of those things. But we also build our whole society around climbing a ladder and becoming the number one. Like, I'm the best. I'm number one. There's none of this group dynamic. It's every man for himself. And we've been living in that for a really long time. About 30 some odd years ago, the plants came out of the jungles, the deserts, the caves, the places, and these shamanic ways started to show us how to reconnect to our heart. And those 30 some odd years ago, it was not because these people wanted to make money from the Westerners. It was because they all, and I've worked with many different tribes in different parts of the world, that have voiced the exact same thing to me, where they said, we all collectively got these messages that man is dangerous and that we have to actually get this information to them because they're not coming to us. And if we can bring them this connection to their heart, then we'll stop destroying the planet. We'll come back to the ways. Right? So there are many humans who became ready and who showed up to personal work and started working with plant medicines, started doing the meditation practices that came from the East, and started like really saying, we have to get better because we know that this me, I, every man for himself is not creating any kind of lasting peace or happiness. It's just competition and distortion. So we finally get to the heart. And that's actually what we're stabilizing right now. The human race is stabilizing our heart chakra, which is the center of our being, the most power that we possibly possess, the largest aspect of our auric field, unconditional love, self and other. The religions that were based here out of the third chakra always made the figurehead the one who could achieve that. Right? So now we achieve that. And we're working on that, but we have a big ego to contend with. So 5 is opening up. For those of us who are stabilizing in our heart, 5 is our opportunity. And 5 is going to be controlled by either the head or the heart. So this ego dance, this third chakra, connects directly to the 6th. And this throat chakra either creates from the head or it creates from this awakened heart. So where we're at in humanity right now is a choice we have to make as to whether or not we are going to create and manifest our life from our heart center, utilizing our head, utilizing our gut, like all of it's involved, or whether we're going to continue this ego battle and creating from a place of me, mine. So yes, all these teachers are coming out of the woodwork and saying, we all have felt the call of like, we're going to help humanity rise. We're going to help humanity rise. Because once you actually move your voice through the body, you remember. The largest resonator of the voice is the heart. If you're going to get your voice, really get your voice online, vocal practice, even if you're classically training, doing scales and everything, if you work your Shakti, your voice through your body every day, your heart is what awakens, and that is what is going to inform the voice. And that is what nature wants of us right now. And this is the earth's doing. Nature, our chakra system, our evolution, she wants us to decide. And even with AI right now, Humanity has to decide whether or not we want to be viable and like an important part of this whole thing. But I do see how even in this conversation, there's so many haters about AI too. But I can also see within this conversation how they made us computers, and maybe letting computers do what computers do is going to let humanity do what humanity does. But we're going to have to decide that. So we're going to have to get to the heart, and we're going to have to make what we are matter. And that's why the voice works. So anyone this will serve, and everyone this will serve. Some people want to be a better singer. Some people need to heal serious diseases. Some people have blockages on their path to prosperity. There's many different reasons why people might come to this kind of work, and all reasons. I help save marriages. I help people find life paths. There's so many things that come up when you start to do this work, because it's the full harmonization of your being as an instrument, right? And we've all been kicked out of that harmony in one way or another throughout our life. So to find that again means to get back to your truth.
Yes. Whew, mic drop. Yeah, it's interesting because, and I just want to share this with you because I think you'll love it. But I tend to think of the solar plexus as the ego system and the heart is the ecosystem. So it's like we're getting to the ecosystem rather than being in the ecosystem.
I love it.
Yes, I knew you would love that.
I'll quote you on that, but I'm going to steal that one.
Oh, please, take it. Maryn, thank you so much. Can you share with people, where can they find you? What do you got going on? I know you just launched something new. So what can you share so that people go find you and work with you? So
you can find me on vocaltransformation.com. Instagram is a great place to get tips and little things from me, and that's vocal_transformation on Instagram. But I do have two things, right? One is the thing that you're a part of. It starts in September of every year. It's the 9-month rebirthing mentorship where we go through the entire chakra system from the root up, and we move this energy and we do the full rebirth. And so you can go to vocaltransformation.com and you can find the mentorship. That's a beautiful thing. And then what I did just launch, which I'm really excited about, is our community. So for people, anybody, because it really is a price point that all people can connect to. And I know that so many times with this kind of work or any kind of teachings, there's the financial aspect of it can be difficult. So I've had this dream for a long time. Also back to what the medicine showed me, which is that we need 80 million people to do this thing. And it's critical mass, 1% of the global population, right? So we need 80 million people to decide they're going to wake up the full capacity of their voice in this way, and we will begin to ripple that because it will become 800 million. It will become way more. It'll get there, but it only takes a small number of us to move a wave, and then the wave takes over, right? So maybe it'll be an 80 million person community, but for right now it's not. And what's great about that is that you get a lot of personal attention if you want it. So I launched this community so that we could come together with voice practices and teachings, and I'm even going to be bringing in friends of vocal transformation. Maybe you'll come in and teach a class. That would be amazing. So as we build this thing, I'm really trying to create a community of people who are ready to step into their voice and wherever they're on their path. It doesn't matter where you are in your path. I teach professionals who have like vocal damage. I teach people who have all sorts of things because it's not standard, right? Voice teaching. So to come in and to really get this power back, but to have different things. So we do weekly chanting sessions. We do different classes. I'll be giving songs for people to learn to build repertoires. I have this beautiful dream, and we just are launching it. So if you want to be part of a community, at the foundation of it, where we still have just a number of people on a call where we're all interacting, talking, I'm knowing you, we're in this together, then you want to join the membership. So you can go find that online as well. So there's the mentorship and the membership. And you can find them both on vocaltransformation.com, or you can find them on my Instagram because I'm talking about them, so you can join us that way too.
Beautiful. And I just want to say before we go that, I can attest to being in your mentorship, to being around you, that if you work with Maryn, like she leaves you different than you were before. Like just being in your presence, leaving different than they were before. And that is not something I say lightly. People that are listening to that, you know, I'm very sensitive about who I work with because of my own sensitivities with my intuition. And Maryn is change you. She will demand you to work, but she will change you. So Maryn, thank you so much. It was such a gift to have you on here. And thank you for just the beautiful work that you're doing. We see it. I see it. And we're so grateful. We're so
Thank
grateful.
you so much. What a great conversation. So much love.
Thank you so much for listening today. If this episode supported you, please subscribe and leave a rating. That simple step helps this podcast grow and helps more people reconnect with their intuition in a grounded, embodied way. If you want to go deeper, take my 5-minute free quiz in the show notes entitled Unlock the Full Power of Your Intuition, where you'll discover your unique intuitive gifts, whether you're a knower, seer, feeler, or sensor, and learn more about how your intuition naturally speaks to you. Look out for new episodes dropping every Tuesday. I'm so honored to have spent this time with you. See you next week.